God for the United States Supreme Court.
Oh,
and their ruling last night.
I did a dance on Prospect Avenue, nude.
Those words from a former Wisconsin state secretary, her first thought when the U.S. Supreme Court blocked Wisconsin's voter ID law.
It's noon. Now, this is not a final decision by the court, but it does appear voters will not have to present photo ID at the polls on November 4th.
Supporters remain hopeful the law will eventually be upheld, but opponents are clearly celebrating this latest reprieve. Jonah Kaplan reports.
For the past month, really, people have been coming here to the DMV making sure to get themselves a photo ID to use at the polls come November 4th. Well, now with the Supreme Court order, no sense of urgency anymore. All this week, Congresswoman Gwen Moore planned to take former Secretary of State Vel Phillips to the DMV to get a license. Now 90 years old, Phillips worried about finding a photo ID. She said her passport expired when JFK was president.
I was born here, and I just never thought about it.
And you've never needed it?
I've never needed it. No, I was a Secretary of State, for God's sake.
Phillips won't have to worry now. The Supreme Court of the United States last night blocked the law requiring a photo ID to vote.
For right now, we're celebrating this one victory for the November election.
A short-term celebration because the court's order omits any mention of the law's constitutionality or lack of it.
The people who oppose voter ID have 90 days to file a petition with the Supreme Court. After that 90 days, the Supreme Court will decide, will we hear the case or not? If they decide not to hear the case, the Seventh Circuit order goes into effect, voter ID is back. If the Supreme Court decides to hear the case, well, then they'll issue a ruling ultimately deciding on the merits one way or the other.
Add that time to the 3 years it's already taken to get to this point since the state legislature passed it in 2011. Voter ID was in effect in 2012, but a state judge struck it down soon after. The Wisconsin Supreme Court and a federal judge reinforced that ruling, and it held until last month. On Monday, a federal appeals court gave voter ID full support. We've almost reached the last round. In Milwaukee, Jonah Kaplan, today's TMJ4.
Despite the ruling, the DMV will keep its Saturday hours as part of a pilot program. The DMV will also continue to offer free voter IDs and a petition to get one for those without a birth certificate.
Well, that is our sound off question for today. Should the Supreme Court have blocked Wisconsin's voter ID law? You can sound off by calling 414-967-5304. You can visit us on Facebook at today's TMJ4.